I have to hardcore challenge you on something. I think they accidentally served me the cardboard version.
Hey there, this is LJ, owner and founder of Smart Moms Plan Disney and Smart Moms Travel. Welcome to the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. I wish I could be with you for every episode, but don't worry, I have chosen an awesome host who will be with you each and every week. I love her, and I know you will too. Here's Allie.
Welcome back to another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. I am once again your host, Allie, joined today once again by Karla and our very special guest, the original Smart Mom herself, LJ, is with us. How are you, ladies?
Oh, thanks for having me.
We're so excited, Karla and I, LJ, that you are here. And today we are going to be talking about the best time to go to Disney World. And I think this is a perfect conversation to have because I think that question, a lot of people ask it, but I don't think they maybe understand what they mean when they do ask it.
Yes, that's a good point. Because you're talking about time of year to go, or you could be talking about what ages your kids should be or what year we should go.
Exactly. So when I hear what is the best time, I'm immediately thinking, do you mean what is the best time for my budget? What is the best time for the weather? What is the best time for crowds, holidays, festivals, theming? Kind of what you just touched on. So for each of you, if I were to say best time to go to Disney World, are we looking at budget, weather, crowds, or holidays? What do you think is the most important?
For me, I'm thinking now. And I know that sounds bonkers and crazy, but Disney 2023, even 2022, has made so many amazing changes to their parks. They're offering some great promos, the rides, the shows. They are seriously knocking it out of the park. And to hesitate and to put it off, to wait till next year, to wait till 2025, I say the time to go is now. That's where I'm at.
I actually, when you say when should I go, the very first thing I think is like immediately. There's no reason to wait. But to your more specific question of, is it the time of year? Is it the weather? For me, it's the crowd levels. If you're like, I'm for sure going to go this year, I'm just deciding when, then I think the things that you should take into consideration are the crowds. It actually kind of goes along with the weather, because it kind of works together where like it's going to be hotter in the summer. The crowds are going to be lower. So prices are going to be down. Like everything, all of them kind of work together. If there's more demand, prices are going to be up. But for me, I'm like, let me go when the crowds are low, the demand is low, the prices are low, and I can get so much more done in the parks and not be standing in line.
I think that's such a good point. And I think, and tell me if you agree, I think the time of year that you're referencing that can really wrap all of those things up together is actually the summer. And I think there's a really big misconception that summer is Disney's busy time from like half of the people that want to go to Disney. And then I feel like the other half is like, absolutely not. It is way too hot. I'm going to be sweating in places I didn't know I could sweat and I'm not doing it. And for me, I like summer Disney. I like the fact that I can really explore the water parks and I can really get my pool time. And I mean, Disney has made the ride queues so that you're not melting, when you're waiting. And there are just ways to strategize it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that when I was first getting into Disney, which this was like 6-7 years ago at this point, I was definitely under the impression that when the kids are out of school, that's when the big demand is at Disney. And I actually think that it even may have been back then. I wasn't in the travel agency game back then, so I don't have any data, but I actually feel like there's been a switch where the September, October months used to be low times and now they're much more in demand, where July and August used to be more in demand and now we're finding lower pricing, empty parks. And I agree, I'm willing to deal with a little bit hotter temperatures, knowing that I'm going to be able to swim, knowing that the parks are going to be empty so I can easily head back to the resort for half a day and still get everything done that I wanted to do. That's a no-brainer.
Yes, I completely agree. I mean, I've been taking my kids since they were all very little. My twins were 4 months old the first time I took them. And I remember an occasion where they were 1 and we were there in August and it was very hot. And we were there at Hollywood Studios and we were there for early entry and we're waiting in this long line and we're in this stagnant heat at 8 a.m. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if this is 8 a.m., what is the rest of the day going to look like? We just need to call it quits and go back to the resort, right? That's what I'm thinking. And my son is beside himself. But once we finally got through that queue, that in all reality reality was probably 5 minutes and felt like 5 hours. It did not bother us the rest of the day. We were able to move through the park and we were able to see the different shows and ride the attractions we wanted, and we were fine. And the extreme heat that we were feeling for those 5 minutes, it did not eclipse our entire experience. And sometimes I feel like people are thinking that's what they're going to get when they go for the summer, is like that 5 minutes we experienced for their whole trip.
Let's not forget about the water parks. You know, like Universal is like Volcano Bay, Volcano Bay. And Disney does not push the water parks the way that Universal pushes Volcano Bay. So people forget about them, and you shouldn't, because they're inexpensive to add to your trip and they're so much fun. It was years. I was coming to Disney for years and years, and it was on like my bucket list to do the water parks. And when I went, I could not believe that I let it go for so long. You know, there's always like those attractions at the parks that you're like, someday I'm going to do that or whatever. It felt like that to me. And then when I went, I was like, I cannot believe that this wasn't like a headliner in my mind. So we love them. I think Disney does a really great job of making the water parks specific to kids. Volcano Bay is not, that's Universal's, is a little bit for bigger people. I have a harder time with my kids at Volcano Bay. I want to go there by myself. But with like Blizzard Beach or Typhoon Lagoon, I feel like they have done such a good job of making it for all ages. So you absolutely want to come in the summer. And I feel like we're picking on the summer, but there's good things in all the seasons. And the water parks are open year round. I don't want to go in like November, February, January, but I'm kind of a babe because I live in Florida now. But if you live in Ohio like I used to, you might be totally cool to go to the water parks in January. And guess what? Nobody else, they're going to be all yours because nobody else is going to be there.
Yeah. And Blizzard Beach just added that Frozen section. And I mean, people all the time are wondering, where do I find Frozen? How do I interact with Frozen? And it's not all over Disney World, but it is at Blizzard Beach. And it's awesome. And I think another mistake that people make when they're trying to think about what time of year would be good to go to Disney and what wouldn't is that race weekends are going to ruin your trip. And I don't know what y'all's takes are, but I personally don't think it does ruin your trip. I actually don't really feel the ripples of a race weekend too badly when I'm there.
No, I agree. I'm usually like, oh, what's going on? Oh, that was today? I don't notice it until I'm there. And then I notice people are wearing their medals and stuff, but I don't see like jacked up wait times or anything crazy like that.
Have y'all ever participated in a run event?
Absolutely not.
No.
I mean, I would love to if I love to run, but it isn't in me.
At this point, I don't run unless somebody's chasing me. So
I know. I was one of those people that my biggest fear was I was going to join a family that ran marathons on holidays.
No,
absolutely not. But I did do the sunrise yoga that they have during race weekends. And to me, that was a huge perk to being at Disney World. I was there during one of the race weekends. We felt zero repercussions from the races themselves, but I actually got to participate in a sunrise yoga event, which they've now added to the run events. And you don't have to be a runner to do it. And I am a bit of a yogi. And so I remember I left my resort at 3 a.m. and I brewed a little coffee in my room and I drove. You're both Florida locals, so you know how to drive to the TTC.
Yep.
That's the Tickets and Transportation Center. I did not know how to drive there. And so I got up at 3 a.m. It's pitch black. I usually fly into Disney. This time I happen to have my car. So I've also never driven on Disney property before. So I venture out. I had my friend with me. I have no idea where I'm going. And we ended up in a bus corral, like for the Disney parks buses. And these people were flagging me down. And I was like, I swear I'm just trying to find yoga. And we ended up finding the right place. And we took a boat over. And it was so incredible to be in front of the castle. It was like 5 or 6 a.m. that the actual session happened. And then we did Hollywood Studios for the rest of the day. So again, that's such a unique thing to experience. And if you're not willing or able to think outside the box about the things that make you scared about any specific time of year, then you can't find those hidden gems like doing yoga on a race weekend.
I'm so jealous of you, Allie. I did not know you got to do that. And I also consider myself a yogi. I would love to do it. I feel like the 3 a.m. would be like, whoa, why did I sign up for this? But then being in front of the castle and seeing the sun come up, and I'm jealous.
Oh, gosh.
Do you guys remember during COVID when nobody was in the parks and Disney Plus ran that series? It was like Main Street music playing, and then it was just this vision of the castle as the sun was coming up. Did anybody watch that?
Yes. You said you did not, LJ?
No, I got to go see this. Is it still on there?
It was amazing. It was something that you would just have playing in the background, and then you would keep glimpsing at it to see if the sun was up. I mean, to be looking at the castle as the sun comes up has to be like, that's a core memory for sure. Right, Allie?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how many times I've been to Disney World? Approximately 1 million times. And I have seen the sunrise in front of the castle at 5 a.m. one time. Like, it's not something you get to do all the time. And that's why I think out of the box thinking when it comes to when is the best time for me to go, the answer is truly now. You know, Karla, I think you said that, and it's go now. Don't wait for the perfect weather. You're going to Florida. You're not going to have perfect weather.
Yeah. Don't wait for crowds. Don't wait for weather. Don't wait for the best pricing. Just go.
Here's what's interesting. I think if I'm thinking about crowds, weather, and pricing, my initial gut is don't wait. Stop waiting. You can think outside the box on how to use the things that are available any time of year to your benefit in all those areas. The only exception and the only thing I would think, okay, plan around this is if you really want to see Disney World around a specific holiday or a specific festival at Epcot. So if you are someone that thinks I have to do the Festival of the Arts, well, it's the shortest one. And so planning your trip strategically around that month and a half or so is really important. Or if you want to see specialty characters, like I believe last year it was Minnie Mouse, Daisy, and Clarabelle as the Sanderson sisters, then absolutely you should be planning on that as your quote unquote best time to go, because those are the only things that are specific to a time. Otherwise, you could get rain, you could get sun, you could get heat, you could get cold. I mean, stop trying to plan it, because the more you plan, the more it's probably going to just not go as planned.
So how many people do we hear say like that this is their once in a lifetime trip? And very few of those people actually end up on their once in a lifetime trip, because Disney just wins everyone over. Like, I remember Mike said he never wanted to go back after we went once, and we were going to have one more baby, which it's Ezra. She's my baby number 2 of 5. So obviously that didn't, we decided that was another thing that was more than once in a lifetime, right?
Can you imagine a universe, LJ, mom of 2, been to Disney World once?
So weird. It's not me. I convinced him, like, Ezra was little, like, we have to take her. We already took Seth. And he was like, okay, last time, right? And then that was like the beginning, like the gateway to this entire company and just the millions of times that we've been. And I think that's true for most people, that they don't just go once. They usually, even if they think they will, they end up going back every few years. And more, like, I think the most common repetition for people to go to Disney is probably once a year. You and I can think like, let's go now because we're going to probably go now and then also again and then also again. But if you're at the point where you're like, I'm going to go once a year, Allie, if you had to pick for your family to go once next year, when would you pick?
I would pick the Festival of the Arts because it's one that I have experienced and the rest of my family hasn't. I don't care to take my kids out of school. I know, come at me. I don't care. Of course, they are younger, so I'm not, maybe when they're older, there will be things for me to care more, but I value our family vacations and the time that we spend together and the memories we make while we're on them. So I'm not worried about it. And I would go in January or February, after the holiday season has ended and you have that sort of letdown and emotions, and it's just something to look forward to. It's perfect to put under the Christmas tree. And then you get to experience not only that festival that I love, but just all the parks in their prime, which I think is great. What about you, Karla? When would you go?
I'm going in November. So November is my birthday month for us. I'm going in November. I like to go the week before Thanksgiving. The Christmas decorations are up. The music is playing. The weather, for the most part, has at least relaxed a little bit in the mornings and evenings. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. Normally, hurricane season is gone by then. So that is my ideal time to experience the parks.
What about you, LJ?
I'm going to have to agree with you, Allie. February just cannot be beat in my book. And it's because it checks all the boxes. The weather's gorgeous. Florida winter is over in the end of January, which we don't have much of a winter anyway, but it's pretty solidly over by the end of January. It's super hot here right now, and we're recording this in the end of February. So you have great weather, not too hot, not too cold. You have low crowds. You have the Festival of the Arts, and you're going to have the parks to yourself for the most part. I think you have to watch for the one-off, the cheerleading competitions and stuff like that, but you can look at crowd calendars and see when that's coming up. I'm just in love with February. It's always been my favorite month, followed probably like October, November.
I think we're all kind of in agreement on spring, fall, but I feel like I'm cheating on on some awesome Disney time because it's no secret on this show and in my life that I'm obsessed with Disney resorts. I talk about it all the time. And I also want to know that I'm going to get extremely great value out of my pool. For me, it takes a lot to get me in the water. That's just who I am. I don't love getting my hair wet. I don't love swimming. I like sitting by the pool and watching my kids play the games. And so in order for me to enjoy the pool, it's got to be maybe not extremely hot, but warm enough to be out there. And even though I still do live in Ohio, I still think I'm a little bit of a chicken as well. Like a fine line between it's too cold for me to be out here and I feel good.
I mean, we literally just said there were so many good things about summer. The best time is like spring, summer, fall.
But this is my point. Do you see? Like we can talk ourselves into literally every season and why it's that. You could throw any season at me right now and I could give you a genuine, honest answer about why it is not only a great time to go, but the best time to go and the better time to go. Because I think, again, that out of the box thinking, here's the way you can use the things you may be looking at as a downside. Here are the ways you use them to your benefit. And boom, check that one off. Like time of year, there are ways to make every time of year the best time for your family. I really, really believe that.
Would it be bad if I threw in a shameless plug? Because I feel like that is something that a really good travel agent can do for you. When you get partnered with a Smart Moms travel agent and you are looking for the right time to go for your family, Allie, like that conversation that you're having with your individual clients is invaluable to them. Like for them to maybe have preconceived notions about when things are happening or when the best time to go, and you being able to have that discussion is so good for them. So just use a Smart Moms travel agent.
I agree. When I'm working as a travel agent, that's one of the things I love doing is making sure that I find you can look at every structure of every family and really feel it out and figure out what element of the vacation is going to make it those core memory things like Karla was saying.
And I totally agree because I love really discovering the family that I'm working with and kind of knowing if this is their one and done trip. I mean, at least that's what they think. If that is the case, then I'm going to take that into consideration and I'm going to put the crowds up. I'm going to put the weather up. I'm going to put the holiday season up. I'm going to consider all those things so that I can make the best recommendation for my client, for my family that I'm working with.
Exactly. And I think all this to say, we're going to dive obviously way deeper. We all have personal experiences with our families, our kids, our friends who we've experienced Disney in all different times, all different ways. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper. After we take a quick break, we will jump right on into our segments. Okay, everyone. Listeners of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast, subscribers, participants, we are so excited. We have something big. Like, I cannot even believe how big this is. Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast is partnering with Smart Moms Plan Disney to give away a deluxe Disney family vacation. We are giving it away to one family. A deluxe vacation, families of up to 4 will be able to stay at a Disney deluxe property for 3 nights with 4 days of tickets. Have more than 4 in your family? That's no problem. Families of up to 6 can stay in a family suite at Art of Animation and still get the 4 days of tickets. This would cost almost $7,500 to go book this trip on your own, and we're going to give it away to one family for free. Also, we're moms here, so we've made it easy to enter. We know that you don't have a lot of time to waste taking forever to enter a contest, so follow the link in our show notes and on all of our social media bios, and entering will be a breeze. There are several ways to enter, and the more you do, the better chances you have of going to visit the mouse on our dime. Welcome back, everyone. We are going to jump right on into our segments. The first one, of course, being our favorite here on the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast, The 7, where we dig a little bit deeper into our topic of today, which is, of course, the best time to go to Disney, by breaking down each of those 7 dwarfs and their relationship to the topic. I'm going to jump right in and start with happy. You know what makes me really happy that a lot of people aren't considering? People all the time are saying to me, my kids are too young to go to Disney. They're not going to remember it. Do you know that kids under 3 are free? They're free. If it's free, it is for me. Stop saying that your kids are too young to go to Disney because you are going to pay so much more when your kiddo is 3 and you think they can quote unquote remember the trip because some of the memories are about me.
I totally agree. Not just with dwarfs or anything. We can stay unhappy, but it makes me grumpy when people say they're not going to go until their baby is like, whatever the milestone is, like walking, potty train, out of the stroller. And I'm like, girl, you should have 5-6 trips under your belt by then. You can have so much fun. And not to get too deep, but I think a little part of this is mom sort of trained to think about others all the time. So you're thinking about what's the best experience for my child. And I want you to just for a minute be a little bit selfish and be like, what's the best experience for me? And I would never trade the memories of each of my kids at the baby 1 year, 2-year-old milestones at Disney, where everything is all eyes as big as saucers and they totally believe that this is the real Mickey. They believe this magic is real. I would not trade that. Like you could backload a truckload of money up to my house and I would say, take it away. I would never trade those memories.
Think about if you put that mentality into your daily life. If every single thing that you did with your kids before they were 3 was also put with, well, they're not going to remember this. I mean, would you just sit at home for 3 years? Because you're robbing yourself of these memories. And this is a little off topic from Disney World, but I think I've said a few times I've taken my kids since they were babies, but we actually took our oldest daughter when she was 1 all the way to Aulani, which is Disney's resort in Hawaii. And maybe we were insane. And I think the most insane thing about us at that time was we didn't realize how long the flight from California to Hawaii was. We were like mentally prepared for 45 minutes and then we were there for much longer than that. But I have this memory, and I can say this for a million things about Disney World as well, where my daughter was playing in one of the big splash pads and she just clapped her hands 3 times and put them on her hips. It was such genuine happiness. I have the video, but I have that memory and she definitely doesn't remember it, but we can save money and have an incredible family experience while we do.
I agree. I think that these trips, when your kids are 3 and under, they are for you. They're for the parents. I remember taking my kids when they were 2 and 3. They'll never remember that trip. My parents actually got to go with us. My dad is no longer in our lives. He passed away a couple years ago, but that was the one trip that my dad got to go to Disney with us. And I will never forget. I can close my eyes and envision my daughter sitting on his shoulders and her chunky little cheeks and my dad with this big smile on his face. And I'm not even looking at the parade or the fireworks. I'm just looking at my daughter and my dad. It was for me. And I will have that memory for the rest of my life.
And I think that's not only beautiful, but I think it's important to remember for everyone. And I hate to break this news, but I went to Disney at least once, if not twice, every year of my life growing up. And I remember maybe one key moment from every one of those trips.
That's just life. Like I literally can't tell you what I did yesterday. It's like the illusion of permanence and the illusion of like memory. But honestly, we're so much more just going through life with today being really all we have. We put a lot of pressure on our memories, but I challenge you to think of any memory that doesn't have a photo attached. And you are usually lucky to just have like 2 or 3 per year. If I was to like tell you, think of anything that happened to you in 2015 and the double challenge of you can't have any photos. It would be so tough. Like I'd be thinking like, how old were my kids? And honestly, now the Disney trips are what makes those memories stick out for me. Cause I could be like, oh, I remember in 2015, we stayed at Beach Club for the first time. We did a split stay with Art of Animation and we did the Halloween party. I have crystal clear memories. We had just started to try to get pregnant with Psy Guy. I wasn't pregnant yet, but I wanted to take a picture of my baby announcement because I wanted to do a Disney baby announcement. So there I was, not pregnant. A little like announcement on Main Street and people are congratulations. And I'm okay. Thank you.
It's so funny you said that because I'm sitting here thinking as you're saying it, and I do mark my years now. We go really over the top, let's say, with Disney like bounding for our kids when we go to the park. So now I mark it and I'm like, oh, 2018, that was the year that my kids all dressed up like characters from Cinderella. And 2019 was when we did Monsters, Inc. And then 2020 was Toy Story. And I can literally mark every year by the big family vacation we had and what my kids were wearing.
But if you don't think about those milestones, if you try to think of anything in your day-to-day life in 2015, literally nothing comes to mind. Where were we living? Where was I working? Asher would have been like 1. And I don't have a crystal clear, here he is as a 1-year-old. But I can easily think of that trip that happened then. And I do have memories of him at that age.
Exactly. And all of this to say, kids are free if they're under 3 and it makes us happy. You're going to save money. And that's one of the things you're worried about when you think about what time to go. And to that point, you know what else makes me really happy is seasonal parties and festivals. So we know that Disney World has Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. And then Epcot is marked in 4 quadrants of the year with the 4 festivals that Epcot offers, which is Festival of the Arts that we discussed, the Flower Garden Festival, Food and Wine, and then Festival of the Holidays. And those festivals, those parties are some of the things about Disney that make me the most happy. Have you all attended one of them?
Yes, I've been to all of the things that you've said. And once you start going to Disney regularly, I really relish the things that are different each time. But I especially always love the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. Christmas party is great, but the element of the kids dressing up, they love it so much that for me, that would be the thing that stands out.
Karla, you have a little bit of older kids. They're in that preteen phase. Do they still enjoy the parties or are they leaning more toward the festivals now?
So they do still enjoy the parties. This past year, we went to Mickey's Not So Scary. I think as Floridians, when you get through the summer, you just kind of crave that turn of fall. And when you're on Instagram, you see flannels and pumpkin spice lattes and football season and all these great things. Well, we don't really get that here in Florida. So we kind of have to make it up in our heads. And I think Disney turns to Halloween or the fall season some point in August, which seems a little crazy. But it's kind of that premonition that cooler weather and the holidays are coming. So I always look forward to that particular holiday party just because it's kind of the start of the season.
Do either of you think that because you go all the time as locals, are you ever to the point where, especially with the Halloween decorations, where you're thinking, okay, this isn't really making me happy anymore. I'm really over Halloween. Or are you, like LJ, you mentioned you relish the things that are different. Are you still feeling that the 3rd month in?
I am. When I first arrived there, the decorations are changed. I am so happy. I am on cloud 9, even though it's the same decorations that have been there for the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I'm still taking all the photos and doing all the things. Like the next few times, I don't notice them as much, but they still make me happy. When they do change to the next ones, I'm like, ah!
I love actually, I guess we can maybe talk about Doc and all his smarts. I love when a client really can't choose between Halloween and Christmas. And if you time it right, you can actually see both because the Halloween, like I said, it starts in August. It ends on October 31st, which is Halloween. And then that next day, somehow Disney makes magic like they always do, right? I don't know why I said somehow. It's a given, right? But that next morning, if you walk on Main Street, it's Christmas.
Yeah, the quick overnight turnaround from Halloween to Christmas is one of my very favorite things. And you are right. That's such a good Doc strategy tip. I have a question for both of you. What would you say to someone that thinks, and maybe it's true, that they are taking that once in a lifetime trip and they want to experience Disney Halloween or Disney Christmas, but they're worried that they're going to miss out on classic Disney because Magic Kingdom has that overhaul? Do you think that that's a big deal for someone that's experiencing Disney for the first, maybe only time? Or do you think that that's more of a reason to dive right in?
I feel like I would tell them to go in November. If there was somebody who said, I really want to see Christmas at Disney, but it might be the only time I ever go, I would tell them to go for it because it is gorgeous. It is something to see. And I think you're going to be back anyway. I'm the once in a lifetime person as a child. My parents took us once when we were kids. I was 10. And you don't know what you're creating in your children because, my parents did take us once, but now look where I am. So My mom may have thought she was going to go once, but turn around, I grew up and I've taken my mom to Disney World dozens of times. So I'm like, go for what you want to see. If you're really picking and you really think it might be that one time, do it.
Not only that, but I don't think the parks get any better than at the holidays. Sure, it's Christmas. Sure, it's the holidays. Sure, Christmas music is playing. But if you don't know otherwise and you haven't seen it the other way, or even if you have seen it, I've seen it obviously both ways. I've seen all the festivals. I've seen all the holidays. And to date, Christmas is still my favorite time to be in the parks.
Let me ask you this, as it pertains especially to Doc and strategizing and making an informed decision. Do you even think the best time to go can be determined by one thing, one factor? Because I feel like a lot of people are stressing, and personally, I think it's totally wasted energy.
I absolutely agree with you. There's no bad time to go. I've even been there when it's been completely at capacity, spring break, Christmas, whatever. And if you have to go during one of those busy times, you can still have the most amazing time. There is no bad time to go. It all just comes back to what is right for your family and making it make sense for, like, if we pushed you to go next month, is that going to stress you out in your budget? Then don't do it. Go in. A lot of people don't realize that you can make payments on your Disney vacation. You book it for $200 and then you can make payments of any amount. So you can either just take the total amount and then divide it by the number of months beforehand, or you can wait for a bonus or something that you have coming in. We all call our tax refunds Disney money around here. Stressing out about the best thing is a dopey move. The Doc move is to be like, I'm gonna have fun regardless, so I'm gonna make the best decision for my family. And going into it with that attitude, you are gonna have the best time.
Karla, do you think that it can be determined, like make or break your trip with one determining factor?
No, I think like we mentioned before, you can either make something great out of crowds, out of the weather, the hot times of year, out of the holidays. I think it's just what you make of it. And if you are willing to have realistic expectations and know, not everything's going to be perfect, not everything's going to go as planned, but there's backups and ways to have still a very magical time, I think that you are set to do just that, to have a magical time.
Yeah, I think you guys are both absolutely correct. And I think to LJ's point, everything we've talked about so far wrap right up into our dopey, our silly mistake, the not capitalizing on the free kids. We can transition really easily into grumpy here in a second, but not being able to think outside the box with the weather, right? Like last year during hurricane season, I think it was the worst Florida had as it pertained to Disney World, and the parks having to close and the resorts having to be shut down. And I don't know if you all were following, but Disney went above and beyond. You had unique character meet and greets at the resorts and parties and activities. And it's like, yeah, that wasn't the day we planned. We thought we were going to be at Magic Kingdom today, but Disney did their very best to make that right, and then provided an experience that you wouldn't have otherwise gotten in a million years. The people that were there at that specific time, they have an experience that, yes, it wasn't perfect and it wasn't ideal. And of course, there were bigger things going on that needed to be thought about. But I'm just saying, don't try to avoid something before you think outside the box of what could be better for you. And I think that's the silly mistake. And the one that leads us into grumpy is we haven't touched yet that age 10 is a Disney adult. You're 10 and you're an adult. And I don't know why my 10-year-olds didn't help pay for the Disney vacation that they're on as adult, but they did not.
My two oldest are 13 and 11. And I gotta say, it was a huge change. Like Seth just growing up to be a Disney adult wasn't that noticeable, but now we are 4 adults, me, Mike, Seth, and Ezra, and then 3 kids, my 3 little ones. And it's uncomfortable, you guys. Character meals are like, shoot, man.
Yeah. I remember when I had to start paying for my twins. When they turned 3, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so different. So imagine when I have 3 10-year-olds.
It's going to be something.
Yeah. Karla, your kids are adults now, right?
My kids are adults, but they don't act like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I will argue the word adult in every way other than, of course, the price, which we will all pay at age 10. What other things make you really grumpy? What is your least favorite Epcot festival? Do any of them make you grumpy?
I think Flower and Garden isn't my jam.
What?
I know. And my husband is a huge plant person, and it has some of his favorite things. So I know it's just me, but it's not my favorite. I love the Festival of the Arts, and I really love the Festival of the Holidays.
What about you, Karla? Do you have a least favorite festival?
I would say I would have to agree with LJ because I feel like Flower and Garden. I feel like anytime you go to Epcot, the topiaries are amazing. There's always flowers. All that stuff is always prevalent. I would say also that I'm always kind of disappointed at the Festival of the Holidays, only because I feel like the other parks go way beyond as far as the decorations. I love Main Street. I love Animal Kingdom, actually, holiday decor.
Oh my gosh. Did you just say you love Animal Kingdom?
We get that on record. It is on record.
Yeah.
Looky there. I do love it during the holidays. However, I always feel like I'm craving more of that holiday spirit at Epcot specifically.
I actually agree with you on that. And it's something we talk about a lot in my family. I think there's a little bit of a missed opportunity there. I mean, obviously the candlelight processional is gorgeous and amazing, but yeah, but I think it's a little bit of a missed opportunity where Epcot is usually not that at all.
Well, not only that, but to also call it the Festival of the Holidays, it's just like, give us just a little bit more.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that was going to be my answer. So I'm glad you said that. LJ, what's your take on Animal Kingdom?
During the holidays specifically, or like overall?
How about both?
Okay, I love it, and it's Mike's favorite park, so it has a special place in my heart for that. Like, in my history with Animal Kingdom, I have learned so much that when the first time you go, you can miss so much. The second or third time that we went and I had learned some of this strategy, I feel like that's when we really saw all the things and did all the things. And that's when it became much more special to me. And then during the holidays, I do love the tree. I love the decor that goes along with it. It's not my favorite park for the holidays, but I think it's well done.
That's an interesting take. Karla and I are not the biggest Animal Kingdom fans, but maybe we will let you build us an itinerary and we'll go and we'll try to do it your way and find that whatever it was you were just talking about.
Spark.
That one little spark. You know what though, as we're talking about all these decorations, I think it's a good time to move into Sleepy and talk about resorts as it pertains to best time to go. And I have a really interesting take here, I think, in that we're talking a lot about the holiday season. And I think we've naturally drifted there because it's of interest to so many people. I mean, it's a good time to go. Kids are out of school a lot. It's beautiful, obviously. And there's a lot to celebrate that time of year. So if I'm thinking about holiday season and I'm thinking about resorts, my mind is going right to Wilderness Lodge. And I think partially it's because I think the decorations for Christmas, like Polynesian and Beach Club are my two favorite resorts, but they are absolutely not my go-to at the holidays because I think it doesn't capture Christmas enough, or for me, Christmas and to whatever everybody else is celebrating that time of year. But I love the decorations and the beauty at Wilderness Lodge. Plus, it has great, easy access to Magic Kingdom. So I can go to Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party and then I can take a boat right back to my resort. And I feel like I'm really getting the best of everything. So for me, if I'm thinking about today's topic, best time to go, we're naturally drifting toward holidays. I think one thing people don't realize even is that staying deluxe can feel really scary, but the Wilderness Lodge is actually surprisingly doable. It's reasonable. And in the Magic Kingdom area, it's actually the most reasonable of all of the deluxe options. So it's A, the most reasonably priced, and B, the most beautiful for that time of year. And I want to hear y'all's thoughts. But before we do, I want to let any Smart Moms travel agents listening know that today's hidden Mickey is Wilderness Lodge.
I totally agree. I think Wilderness Lodge is such a hidden gem. I think that when you think of that Magic Kingdom area, that you're really concerned with those monorail resorts and the easiness of getting to the park. But it's just as easy over at Wilderness Lodge. There is something like crazy magical when those doors open and you're walking in and you're greeted with this massive lobby that is, I don't even know how many stories tall, and it has the carvings in the wood and the logs, everything about it. Oh, the fireplace in the corner, stream at the end with the running water. I could sit in that lobby all day long.
This is genuine that they are loving Wilderness Lodge and saying that it is a good value. And I agree, like if you take value into consideration and you bring the holidays in, I do feel like Wilderness Lodge is up there. For me though, my favorite resort during the holidays is always going to be Grand Floridian. They have a gingerbread house that you can walk into, like a gigantic life-size giant gingerbread house. The whole area smells so delicious like gingerbread. They have the most wonderful snacks inside the gingerbread house that you can buy. And they just usually have fun things going on. The decor is amazing. The tree there is amazing. All the restaurants there will have usually seasonal things happening. That's where my heart goes. And I also love to walk. I like to walk in general, but the ability to walk from Grand Floridian to Magic Kingdom is exceptional.
I totally hear what you're saying. Obviously, Grand Floridian is a Christmas wonderland, but I have to hardcore challenge you on something.
Go ahead.
You just said that the gingerbread house has delicious treats. I purchased a glass of champagne in the lobby at the Grand Floridian, which, hello, that's amazing. And I got in line at the most incredible gingerbread house, which, by the way, they start building in June. And I waited for like 30 minutes. And when we got to the front, we ordered one of everything. And the gingerbread shingle, you can buy like a shingle that's on the house and it's gingerbread coated in chocolate. And that is my jam. That sounds like something I would love. It was awful. It was so bad. It was one of the worst things I've ever eaten. So great to look at, not great to eat.
I've only had good experiences, but I do feel like I love sweet things. When people are like, it was too sweet or whatever, I'm like, oh, that's for me. Like,
no, I think they accidentally served me the cardboard version.
Now, what about, guys, let's get away from the holidays for a second. What about summertime? Like, what's your priority in the summertime? I know you mentioned pools, Allie. Where are you staying for that?
I'm only staying in the summer. Well, first of all, you have to stay moderate or deluxe, because if you're not getting a water slide. And I want a water slide. So if it's the summer, I'm at Beach Club because of the sand bottom and the lazy river and the big slide, or at the Polynesian because I'm swimming in that amazing volcano pool and I'm looking at the castle. Contemporary doesn't have my favorite pool. I'm just going to say it. So if I'm thinking about summer, I'm actually kind of avoiding that one. It's one of my least favorite pools, but I also love, in the more moderate realm, that the Port Orleans resorts are sister resorts. So you can actually use the pool at French Quarter and the pool at Riverside, and you're getting that double value. And each pool is really different. Like the one over at Riverside is really laid back and sort of swampy vibe, which, I mean, I guess that didn't make it sound super appealing. Like you're not going to come up on an alligator, but the French Quarter side is really fun and vibrant with this big splash area. So I guess that would be my moderate pick for the summer. And then obviously if I'm going deluxe, I'm avoiding Contemporary and I'm going to go with Poly and Beach Club. What about you?
I would say for the summer, Beach Club, of course. I feel like that's a no-brainer. And then I would probably say Grand Floridian would be second for me, which Poly and Grand are like right there together. But I love the Alice in Wonderland themed splash pad at the Grand. And then if I was going to pick a moderate, I would probably agree with you and say French Quarter. My kids adore that slide. I don't know what animal that is. It's some kind of lizard. The slide is
It's a dragon, I think. Yeah.
That makes sense. But my kids love it. Like every single one of my kids has been enamored with that slide. And the splash pad is pretty incredible. We've gotten used to the splash pads being better at the deluxe, but I honestly think the splash pad at French Quarter is one of the better ones.
I was actually just about to ask you, and Karla, I was going to see if you had stated either, if you actually thought the French Quarter splash pad was better than that Alice in Wonderland theme one, because I actually think the Alice in Wonderland one at Grand Floridian is kind of small and dinky compared to French Quarter.
It is. The French Quarter one has much more to do, but the Grand Floridian one is prettier. So it depends. Like, I'm like, is this for me or for my kids? And if we're really going to spend a lot of time there, then I would say the French Quarter, my kids have had more fun, but they also have really enjoyed the pools at the Grand as well.
Karla, where are you staying?
I'm probably staying with you, Allie. I'm staying at the Beach or Yacht Club. Doesn't matter which. I love the pool there. Stormalong Bay is amazing. Pretty sure it's it's rated the best pool on Disney property, is it not?
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah. And then I also love the vibe, especially during the summer at the Polynesian. I love sitting out by the pool, grabbing a drink by the bar. The pool there is great. My kids love the pool there. They love the playground thing. But not only that, sitting out on the sand at night and watching the fireworks during the summer, there's just something to be said about like summertime at the Polynesian. I don't get that vibe at any of the other resorts during summer specifically.
Yeah, I think, and maybe it has a little to do with the Dole Whip that you can buy right there. Let me ask you this. We have made a good case that truly there's not a wrong time to go, right? That out of the box thinking that I keep referring to, just how can you make every time of year work for you? But if you had no limitations, what would your sneezy be? What would the one time of year that you would say, this is the one, even though you could make it work, that I would be avoiding? What's your sneezy?
My sneezy is the week between Christmas and New Year's, because you don't know what you're going to get weather-wise. You could be freezing, and it is literally the most crowded time of the year. And it is the most expensive. So I'm like, I would rather not pay more to be like elbow to elbow with people. That said, if it's your only time to go, if that's when your kids are off school, then you just have to be creative. But I do not have that limitation. My kids are homeschooled. So I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah. And specifically, we've already addressed, like, you can experience the holidays much better before that week. What about you, Karla?
I'm avoiding the summer. I know crowd-wise, it's great. Pricing-wise, it's good. You would think I would get used to it. I'm not. You're tiny, Allie, and you said you sweat in all the places. I'm like a mid-sized mama, and I for sure sweat in all the places. I have to dress myself accordingly to camouflage my sweat. And not only that, but the whole fan thing around your neck and the cooling towel and the ice, it's a lot. And if there's a time for me to avoid not going, that's when I'm not going.
My hair got really nastily caught in one of those neck fans.
I believe it. Those are dangerous.
Yeah, my hair got really wrapped up. I think that's where my park braids originated. Because if you know me, if you see me in the park, I usually have braids. And it's just a lighter way to get my hair off my neck, because a ponytail will hurt because my hair is really thick. And yeah, I almost got scalped by one of those fans.
Not only that, these beautiful girls that go to Disney in their full makeup, like that makeup's not going to be there at the end of the day. I mean, unless you're wearing some magical foundation, I don't know. Have you ever seen like where the kids get the face painting in the morning at Magic Kingdom, and then by like the end of the day,
melted.
The paint is just, that's how I feel at the end of a day in the summertime.
I know what you mean. I still would totally rather be there in the summer compared to the crowds.
No, you're right. And I, like you said, kids have off during that time of year. If that is that particular family's like one and done trip of a lifetime, I never recommend that time, because I agree. As magical as the holidays are, that is the busiest time of year. Mm-hmm. And to go and to try to experience the magic of Disney with all of these other elements in play, sometimes it could be really difficult to do so if you don't know how to navigate and to take control of how to maneuver some of those things like the crowds and the chaos.
I think there's times that you can just show up without a plan and have more fun. And there's times that to achieve that same level of fun, you need a much more detailed plan. So if you are somebody who's going when it's really busy, or you're trying to go when the kids have off school or something like that, it's far more important for you to have a travel agent. You can show up in February and you can't screw it up all that bad. But if you show up in some of these busier times without the help of a travel agent, you are going to be sunk.
So speaking of travel agents, we're all travel agents, right? Allie, let's talk about Bashful. What do you think people are afraid to ask?
You know, it's interesting that you asked that. I think the number one thing that I hear is, I don't know what Disney costs. Am I going to pay $10,000? And the answer is no, you do not have to. And I'm able to get people to understand that they have this preconceived idea that Disney is a fortune. And yeah, Disney is expensive, but yes, it is worth it. I think most of the time people do probably know that this is my range. This is kind of what I feel like I can spend, but they're too scared to put a label on it because they're afraid it's too low. So instead they just say, I don't know how much Disney's going to cost me. I think it's important that you can commit to that price that you have in your mind, and it's probably doable.
So, Allie, what do you think if I am a client coming in and I want to go? I don't care when I go. I'm available any time of year, but I want it to be within budget. I want to go the cheapest time of year. What are you going to tell me?
If you don't care about anything else in those factors that we've been discussing of the best time means these things, and to you, the best time just means the cheapest, you're going to be looking at the summer. You get great promos, you get a lot of people, a misconception that it's the busiest time and it's not. I find August, there's like a really sweet spot in August, like a 1 week stretch where some kids are back in school and some kids aren't. And I find that to be the sweet spot when it comes to price.
And I think back to Bashful, that if you are somebody who's like, I want to go as cheap as I can, then you should not be bashful about that. Hit us up and give us that information and we will find a way. I mean, we do a lot of like long weekends and things like that, and they can be surprisingly affordable. So don't be scared. Don't be bashful.
Exactly.
I agree. I also think that parents, and I know you mentioned this earlier, Allie, is the question of whether or not I should take my kids out of school to go to Disney.
The answer is yes, 1,000 times over, yes.
I agree. I'm a homeschool mom, so it's not something that I've had to answer for myself, but I did put together what your kids can learn at Disney in order for this to be like an educational experience. And you can find that on our website, smartmomsplannedisney.com. School excuse.
It's like a doctor's note for Disney.
Yes, it's a doctor's note so that hopefully if you have a tough board, like if they have to like decide if this is an educational trip, it's several pages long and we'll like detail what your kids will learn. And if they give those excuses, we are usually successful with that note. Some of them just don't, but I'm very, very, very pro take your children out of school. I feel like my kids learn things by doing much more easily than they learn by being taught. So I can have them do their homework and all that kind of thing. And that's going to be a very different learning experience than if I just give them a gift card with $50 on it and tell them like, this is all you're spending money. That's going to be a far better experience for them to learn what things cost and the thought process of what to spend my money on. I want this, but I want that. And I have to balance it. And I've not done it yet, but I'd like to do it even with the kids' food. Like I think my older son could handle it. You have $150 for food. Spend it how you want. And if you have any extra left over, you can use that how you want. I feel like those type of learning experiences are so much more powerful than him sitting there doing his homework.
I completely agree. I think we really whittled it down, made a good case for why every year can be the best. Every family is going to have a perfect fit. Every friend group is going to have a perfect fit. And the equation can be different from year to year. You know, what works this year may not work next year. And there are so many awesome things to consider. And I think just knowing what could be good about a time or bad about a time, and then twisting that, spinning it to work it in your favor is truly the way to decide what the best time to go to Disney is. We are going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we will close out our segments with the lightning lane.
Hey y'all, it's LJ here on my yet to be named segment. I still need your help on that. If you've been listening, you know we are working on figuring out a name. Head over to our Instagram at Smart Moms Plan Disney Podcast and help us out with a name for this segment. And now I'm going to get into talking about our topic, when to go. Now we have talked about this so much. I want to take a little different track with it. I want to talk about what happens before you decide to go, because that's part of deciding when to go is what's going to happen beforehand. If you decide that you want to go in a year, it just kind of seems like science fiction to me. But 4 to 5 months seems I get excited. As soon as my Disney trip is within 4 to 5 months, that's when I start feeling a huge increase in happiness and joy, like just knowing our trip is coming, the countdown is reasonable, and it gives me plenty of time to do the planning that I want to do and to do all the thinking, but I think it really maximizes the joy quotient. So a year gives you plenty of time to maybe make payments. Most of you know that you can book a trip for $200 down, then you can make payments at your own leisure. There's no amount that you need to pay this at this point or this point or this point. You just need to have it paid in full within 30 days of travel. So you can make the payments however you want. So if you think about how much are you comfortable taking out of your weekly paycheck or bi-weekly paycheck or out of your monthly budget towards this vacation, how many months do I need before we travel, that's a really great way to think about it. I also don't want you to be too scared to go last minute. Do you remember pre-COVID that you could book dining at 180 days out? So if you decided like 4 months before that you wanted to go to Disney, other people had tons of time to book their dining and you were going to have whatever was left. Now it's 60 days out that Disney lets people book their dining, which I think is very good because at 60 days out, your plans are a lot more steady. You're better able to really pick the dining you want instead of just blindly choosing whatever and hoping it coincides. So what that means and why I'm mentioning that is that if you book a trip for over 60 days from now, so even 61 days, you have just as much chance of getting your dining and all the reservations that you want as anybody else does because they're not able to book their dining until 60 days out either. So there's no need to feel like you need to book it too far out. So if you feel like what you need is a last minute trip and you want to book it, I don't know, like a week and 60 days out, you should be fine. And that should give you plenty of time to book your dining, to plan what you want to do. For me, like that's when it really comes down to all the super fun planning anyway. So I don't like to do it shorter than that. Like a month from now, it gets hairy for me, but 2 months, a little more than that is good, even 90 days. So that's something that I want you to consider is how much joy can you get out of this trip? If you book it a year from now, if you book it 5 months from now, if you book it 3 months from now, how is that all going to work for you? I want you to realize that's why you're doing this. You're planning, you're listening to these podcasts, you're thinking about what you want to do to up your joy quotient in your life, to make yourself and your children and your husband happier. And realizing that, I think, can help your planning and can help you make the decisions that really make sense. I feel like the first few times that I went to Disney, I lost that and I felt like I wanted to plan the perfect trip. And the first few trips, I was blindly innocent and just having so much fun with my family and my kids. And then the next few trips was when I was putting so much pressure on myself to be the perfect planner and like do so great. And they weren't as fun for me, and they honestly weren't as fun for my kids either. So it's really just about how much joy we as a family are going to have. So make the decisions based on that, not based on some absolutely perfect time that doesn't exist.
Welcome back, everyone. We are going to jump right now into our lightning lane. Are you ready, LJ and Karla?
I'm so ready.
We're ready.
All right, here we go. To both of you, I will ask these questions, answer in whichever order you would like. But remember, it is the lightning lane. You must answer quickly. What is the best time of year to go to Magic Kingdom?
Christmas, holidays,
Yeah, I say the same, November.
What is the best time of year to be in Hollywood Studios?
all the time.
Yeah, nothing stands out to me either.
It stands out to me because you're going to melt in Galaxy's Edge. I think they pipe extra heat in there to make you feel like you're in the desert. So not summer for Hollywood Studios. What about favorite time of year to be at Epcot?
Food and wine.
Definitely the Festival of the Arts for me.
January, February. Do you think the Food and Wine Festival goes on for too long?
No, there is no too long when it comes to food.
Yeah, I was going to say, listen, every festival at Epcot has that element of food and wine. So it's almost like it's just year round. I like it because of the change in weather, and it's always around my birthday.
Yeah, that's nice. But I kind of feel like sometimes when I'm walking around in the summer, the palette is a little heavy for me. So like I prefer it in the fall, if that makes sense. Okay. Anyway, favorite time to go to Animal Kingdom?
Anytime at all. I don't feel like it is hotter there. So I'll say like spring.
Karla?
I'm going to go with the holidays.
Which holiday is the very best to experience at Disney World?
I love Halloween. I mean, I feel like Christmas has my heart. I'm going to say Halloween because I really do enjoy like the aspect of it being like age appropriate for my kids. So I'll go Halloween.
And I'm going to say Christmas.
Okay. What's better, older kids or younger kids at Disney?
I like older.
I don't know. My oldest is only 13. I love little kids. I love like the toddler years, especially. Like Ace is 3 and I'm loving it with her.
You know what? I like that age where they're like, when London was 8 or 9 and wanted to dress, even Liam used to dress up as a stormtrooper. So that kind of, what is that, preteen, pre-tween, that 8 or 9, 7, 8, 9, that area.
Ooh, nice. What about hot Disney or cold Disney?
Cold Disney.
At Disney.
I'm hot Disney too, I think. Which attraction has a long wait time year round, regardless how much you try to strategize against it?
Seven Dwarfs.
Why is Peter Pan so long, you guys?
Why?
Always.
Why? Somebody tell me. Somebody join us on social media and tell me why Peter Pan has to be a lightning lane that you pick right away, because that line.
I need to know, because it does not make sense. Like, it's a fast loader. It's not that big of a demand. Like, really, what is happening? I need to know. Please let me know what's happening.
I mean, honestly, people are acting like it's Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, it's the same wait time.
No,
like,
but you know what? You know when you get off Guardians of the Galaxy, you like clap. It doesn't matter how many times you rode it. You're like, wow, that was amazing. Or you get off Slinky Dog and you have the biggest smile on your face. When I get off Peter Pan, I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
What?
Dude, it's nostalgic, but I don't understand, friends.
Is it nostalgic? Do your kids feel nostalgic about Peter Pan?
No, I do.
Somebody does. I feel nostalgic more for Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion.
Listen, that's small world for me, but I'm not waiting more than 30 minutes for it.
No, agree.
Yeah, not at all. I agree with Karla. I think Seven Dwarfs has a long wait no matter the time of year. It's always going to be long. You cannot strategize against that. All right. That is going to do it for us today. Again, best time to go is now. There are ways to think about the best times of year, the worst times of year, and of course, the ways to strategize to make any time of year the right time for you. Thanks so much for listening to the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. If you are planning, looking at planning, or ready to start planning again, be sure to reach out to your Smart Moms travel agent. If you don't already have one, make sure you hit us up in the link in our bio or in the show notes to get connected with one of our hosts. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts so you're the first to know when a new episode drops, and hit us up on social media. Until next time, we'll see you real soon.